So in the pricing strategy, all right, this we've kept it as simple as possible, right? This is a much in-depth topic, but uh, for people who are starting off, this can get a little confusing. Hence, the attempt is to make it as simple as possible because, again, Mr. Warren Buffett's word, right? Price is what you pay, value is what you get. So, if you remember the previous time, we always talked about that you under promise and over deliver, right? So, pricing is a very important factor in such things, right? And since specifically when you're looking at a global audience, so the value is what you get is something that what the individual perceives for himself, right? Because of various belief systems and expectations in the past or whatever the exposure is. So with that in mind, okay, one of the simplest way of putting together a pricing or a costing for your courseware is first conceive your goals, right? What you intend getting out of this. Number two, and before I get to number two, these would be part of your business plan already. Okay, so because you would have put a cost and you would have put anticipated numbers and so on and so forth, you made your self-evaluated goals for yourself. Now, the second point is once you have the kind of the budgets that are going in and you put certain goals for yourself, the pricing in such cases starts from minimal, right? In the context of the Indian context, we've seen, the Bada pricing works the best. The endings of 99s, right? Suppose you start and your the course that you constructed, right, is has has so much effect and very important and prevalent out there to be used by the relevant audience that you create. A tripwire, if it starts with say about 499, you're just putting it under 5,000 as a number, and I'm talking INR, right, or 100 USD, if you will, right? The core product should be twice to five times the value. All right, why so? Because your tripwire, if you remember, is a landing zone which will help people understand the value of the course when they go deeper. And the core product has that deep value in itself, which you would have put more time and conceptually given the right principles and the discussional points, which will benefit people who've been through the same stage as you have to find that solution that you've given them. Okay, so the time consumption on a core product will be much higher and well conceived. So with that said, so if it is 100 USD pricing, okay, for your tripwire, it typically will be $200 to $500 for your core product. And in the Indian parlance, suppose you got the 4,999 pricing, it will go right up to 9,999 to almost 19,999, right? Or 24,999. So that's your core product. And your profit maximizer, that means the time you put in terms of one-to-one or one-to-many, right? Or give them next level, like maybe an L3 there, okay? Those should be twice or five times the value of your core product, okay? And based on the niche, micro niche, your depth in the subject, and various other factors, right? This value changes. And again, the thumb rule is the micro most super niche you are in, the higher the value is, okay? Because there'll be very few people who would know of that element to the extent anybody else would. Okay, let's take a hypothetical situation. Can somebody make a rocket? Probably yes. Right? Nowadays, a lot of things are possible. But if you go to the extent where they say that this rocket can reach the satellite and would have X amount of programming required, and that program will require specific element to make the rocket take off, right? That becomes a super niche. Okay, this is the most wildest hypothetical super niche you could find, right? But to make it more relevant, from taking the same example from your from our previous times, a stock trader, right, who is an expert stock trader, who understands, right, the FNO market, the futures and options market, and is able to let people know a 4-point system to trade futures, right, in maybe two verticals, say energy and automobile, which assumedly are evergreen, right, and guaranteeing them a 200% return, that becomes a micro niche in that subject. Correct? And they can do that for the global scenario, right? That will make them even super niche, because this is more is actually better, because a global scenario would cover various stock exchanges, which are the main exchanges, right? The most of the stock traders who come will not know about their stock, but if there's one who can talk about the globe ones, and they can trade in making a weekly amount which is extra so high that somebody can it's difficult for somebody to conceive. Imagine that value of that course, right? So think of that, right? And there's a practical example. So there's something called turtles. There were turtles that were created by certain stock traders, which still exist, who gave them their own money, taught them a system of trading, and created turtles out of them. And there's a whole story to turtles, why, etc. But those turtles themselves became capable of creating millions of dollars almost on every calendar month, or rather every day of sorts, if you will, right? So that is the power of creating the right system, maybe in this case the form of a course, going micro niche and giving some practical outcomes that people will jump into, and then you price your things accordingly. Okay, with that, so I hope this is simple and easy for you to price things. Okay, it's a complicated subject, but try to make it as simple as possible. Now we'll do the tools in the subsequent lecture, so let me see you there.